Hello everyone. So in this video I'm going to demo a couple of new sets that are available in my store, and this is going to be a little cherub. So I've got a brand new wing set, and there's, I believe, 5 brand new sets of wings, and I'm just going to show you this one. This is one of the sets on this little cherub, and we're going to put a set on this little cherub. And for this, we're going to use these wings, and it's super easy to use. They're all cut out, they've all been modified and perfected, and I'll show you some of the things that are tips and tricks for making them look really good. I just quickly want to show you the 5 sets that are available in this set, and they've all been perfected, cut out on transparent layers, and I just wanted to show you how amazing they are. So when you open up your layered file, you're going to see a base layer, which is just a gray background, and then we have our left wing and our right wing. And all you do is grab your grab tool, and what you're going to do before you do anything is just match the color space from your PNG files to the image that you're putting it on. So for instance, I always edit in ProPhoto RGB, so I'm just going to come up to Edit, Convert to Profile, and I'm going to choose ProPhoto RGB just so that the color spaces match, because if you drag on PNGs that have a different color space than the source image, then it's going to look really over bright. So then once you have your grab tool and you've done that, just click on, let's start with the left wing, and all we do is just drag it onto our source image. Now for this, you can see here that I cut the little boy out just using the remove background function, and I'm just going to pull it beneath my boy now. So I'm going to hit Command T to transform, and we're going to start manipulating this so that it actually looks like it belongs. So this is going to be the far one, and when it's further away, we're just going to make it a little bit smaller and rotate it to about here. Now you could just duplicate that layer and keep working with it, but for this tutorial I'm just going to demo how to actually grab the next one. So for the next one, you're going to hit right wing, and we're just going to make this smaller, and you can grab it from the layer stack as well. And with this one, we're just going to pull it over and hit Command T, and we're going to rotate it, reduce the size, and it looks like I still want to right click and flip it horizontally because it was facing the wrong direction. So then you can come in and just find whatever placement works better for your image. Usually cherubs have much smaller wings, so I should probably make this a lot smaller like that. And that means I got to make the one behind it smaller as well, because it wouldn't be as large because it's further away. So something like that. And in this space now is when I'm going to affect the coloring, because to me it doesn't match. So this is how you would do it. So we're going to choose this wing here, the one in behind, and you just come up and do a color balance instead, clip it, and now we should be able to affect the yellow portion, which it works, and then add some red in, and that I think looks better. I'm gonna go to the shadows and increase some red just a little bit though, not too much. So I'm at like +3, let's go 2, and that's better. Okay, so now we're gonna duplicate that layer, and we're gonna put it on top of the right wing, hold down Alt or Option, clip it, and now we should have better color in our wings that match our little cherub better. But they're still too bright, right? So I'm gonna click on the right wing, new layer between the 2 clipped, so it automatically clips it, change the blend mode to multiply. I'm gonna just choose a neutral brown color, grab a soft brush, and just make sure you know which wing you're working on. And I'm going to come in here and paint in some shadows because the lighting has to match the subject, right? So we're just going to paint away some of those highlights because for this it's just not working. And in here obviously there would be more shadow closer to the boy, so you want to come in and make sure that you affect those shadows as well. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing for the left wing. Blank layer between, change the blend mode to multiply, and using the same color we're going to come in and just paint down those shadows. Okay, and definitely down here that should be really, really dark, like so. Go back and you can just keep tweaking it, right? You can just look and see, okay, well, this needs a little bit more darkening in here, probably in here, because you're trying to match the light to your image. I'm going to go a little grayer in color for this next one, something like this. Paint those ends down and maybe closer to black and get right in the shadows in here. And that is how you can affect your wings. I'm adding more gold tones into the highlight area, like so. Let's go down to this one because I keep trying to paint it, realizing that I'm not affecting the one I want to. And that is pretty good. Okay, so that's your basic moves for making the cherub wings fit, and it's super easy, super quick. So don't be afraid to adjust them and change the color and burn down the shadows and stuff to drastically affect your image. Okay, so and then what I typically do is I will just put those layers of the wings in a group, so Command G to put them in a group, and you can see before and after. And in this one with the so the left wing here, you can actually reduce the opacity a little bit because it would be a little bit more faded if it was further away. And then with this one here, I would actually probably bump up the contrast a bit on it. So I'm just going to go ahead and merge these layers together. And then I'm going to do a new adjustment layer of curves. And when I do that, I'm going to clip it, and then I can affect the contrast and the mid-tones. Just pull that up a bit. And you can see that this is really making it more saturated, like that, which actually matches his hair quite well, I think. So you can see the difference, like so. If you want to, you can try to change your blend mode to saturate or luminosity. That will affect some of that saturation just a bit. But let's also duplicate this layer, and we're going to put it over top of the other little wing, clip it, and now we can see that that one is a little bit more contrasty as well. So that's typically the base layer that I would always do. And then I'm just going to close this group. And then what I typically do from here is do another layer above the whole group, clip it to the group, and then what we're going to do is grab a regular brush. We're going to lower our flow to around 10, and we're going to sample the background color, and I'm just going to lightly paint that over the edges like so, because we want it to blend in with the color of the backdrop just a little bit more. And so by sampling that backdrop color, it does kind of make it blend just a bit better. And you can use these wings on obviously adults or whatever you really want to. Now you don't have to worry about coloring on the child because you have a clipping mask, right? And that's all that this does. This will just kind of help blend them together so it's not so stark. And now you have your little boy. So what I want to show you next is some overlays as well that I used, and of course I will show you the final edit in this when it's done. Now these are PSD files, so they're all transparent as well, and they're hand painted using brushes in Photoshop. There's no AI involved, but these are amazing for just emphasizing and creating a little bit more art in your images. So take a look at these and I'll show you how to use them. And let's just use this one because I think this one would actually suit this image quite well. And if you look at this file, you'll see that there's just a background layer and then there's the cloud layer, and you do the same thing. You just drag it on. You again need to convert the profile to whatever color space you're working in. So for me, that's ProPhoto. And now I'm just going to drag it onto my image. And you can see that it's not going to be as huge as your image, but it really doesn't matter because these are effects, they're not images. So hit your transform button and you're just going to pull it over your image like so. And it's up to you if you want to pull it down. You just hold your shift key down, or you can leave it a little bit smaller. You can also right click and adjust your warp a little bit if you want, let's say, more of the effect here. But just beware that when you do this, it's going to start distorting the actual shape of the clouds and what have you. So just be aware of that. But that's all you have to do if you want to pull it around on your image like this. So once you're done with your transform, you can change the blend mode. You can just reduce the opacity, but I find that these really offer some cool results. So I'm just reducing the opacity, something like probably that. But I also think I want to do something else. So I'm going to make it bigger, like something like that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to warp it one more time because I can see here that the edge is showing, so I don't want it to show. So I'm going to pull that back right about there and hit return. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a layer mask to this and paint that effect over our little angel boy. Okay. So I'm going to hold Alt or Option, click mask, and I'm just going to paint that effect in this corner and just slightly on top of our subject. And I do like to apply these over top of our subject because a little bit of it painting over top of your subject is going to make it look more realistic. And reduce your flow and perhaps just paint a little back. So something like that, and then you can reduce it. And it's just going to add a little bit of texture. And for fun, what you can do as well is duplicate your layer and then hit transform. You're going to flip it horizontal and then you're going to flip it vertically. And then you should have this up in your corner, like here, just to kind of match both sides, like so. And then just reduce that one down to about there. I'm probably going to reduce this other one a little bit more too. Okay, so these are, I think they're awesome, especially if you're putting them over top of a textured background. And that's all I did with this base layer here is I added a blank layer, filled it with color, and then put a texture over top of it. And it just adds to that more kind of, Old Masters painting look, which this image will look like once it's complete. So let's just go ahead and turn those off. And I'm going to show you another one. So we're just going to use this one. This is just a basic cloud. Once again, I'm going to convert the profile to ProPhoto. Even though it's black and white, I'm just in the habit of doing it. And once again, I'm just going to drag that onto my layer. Hit transform. And we're just going to pull that. So for this one, because it's more of a cloud, I'm actually going to place it beneath my subject, like so. And the reason for this is because it's more or less cloudy, and I don't really want it to be over top of the subject. If you did want to put this over top of your subject like this, then obviously you're going to have to add a layer mask, and you're going to want to paint that off of your little boy. And why you might do this is if you want some of those clouds to go over top of the wings, which will look good, and maybe a little bit of the hair. But for the most part, you're not going to want this effect to be on your subject. But I really like these clouds. I think that they too add a pretty cool effect to our image. Now, if you wanted to, I'm just going to get it all off his face because I can see that the shadows and the contrast are lacking there. Paint back some of that cloud work in here. All right, so if you wanted to change the color of the clouds, let's say you wanted them to be a little bit more gold, then come down to a color balance and clip it, and you can just move that yellow over, and you can see it affecting the smoke, and add a little bit of red, and now it matches the image more. Okay, and those are the clouds. I really like those. I'm using them in combination with some of the other ones, so like if I turn this one back on, you can see that that just adds a little bit more to it. But if we want to, we can pull this one down here, and this one is more clouds. It's kind of the same thing, so I probably wouldn't bother with that one. Let's see what else we got here. This one is cool. It's more cool tones, greens and blues. This one is nice because it's got the vignette in it, so I think for this one, this would work quite well. So I'm going to pull this one over, and then I'm going to grab my cherub and just grab this one here. So same situation. I'm going to grab this and just drag it onto my image, and this one probably going to go on top. So this one, hit your transform and pull it over like so. You can hold your shift key down and pull it up so it's not so drastic over top of your subject. You can also hit your shift key and pull it this way if you wanted. You can also flip it because I feel like this one might need to be flipped. Something like that. And then drag it back down to there. Okay. I really like this one, and just reduce it to about here, like so. And again, just add a layer mask, and you're gonna paint that off of your subject, like so. So I would suggest, especially if you're doing a lot of texture overlays and compositing, studio shots. These also look lovely in outdoors, but I really like them for studio shots. I think they just add quite a bit of interest to the image. Okay, so something like that. And I want to show you this little one here. So Halo, I love this one, and I actually really liked that last one because I added it to this one too, but let's just try a different one. Let's try this one, and just use your grab tool and pull it over. Same situation. Command T, pull it over, like so, and reduce the opacity to about here. Add a mask and just paint it off your subject. Super easy to use, you guys. PNG files are absolutely the most wonderful thing that you can have, because it just makes your workflow go so freaking fast. And then pull it down till you think, okay, that suits it. So that's before and after. So go grab your wings, grab your overlays, and I would love to see you share them in my Facebook group, and I'll show you my edits, my final edits now. And here's my final edit of the little cherub boy. I hope you enjoy these. Link to my store in the description, and I'll see you in the next video.